Hare Krishna, Gauranga. So I'm going to attempt to try and present another one of the 30 key verses of the Bhagavad-Gita. And I want to just mention, as I'm about 4 videos in, that of course the intention of this seminar or series of videos is not to extensively turn these shlokas inside out. As I stated originally, that these verses are very, very deep and very, very important, hence the 30 key verses of the Bhagavad-Gita, and they could be spoken on and turned and churned deeper and deeper by many of our wonderful speakers in the movement for hours and hours, days and days, seminars on these shlokas. I want to just try and give an overview or an introduction to what the verse is, and hopefully we can obviously get a few things out of it. Naturally, even a neophyte devotee should be able to have a basic understanding of these concepts. So, let's see what comes out. So, this is Bhagavad-Gita 3.19. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tajmadashatta Satatam Karyam Karma Samachara Ashakto Hyacharan Karma Param Abnoti Purushaha. Translation: Therefore, without being attached to the fruits of activities, one should act as a matter of duty, for by working without attachment, one attains the Supreme. Purport by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Supreme is the personality of Godhead for the devotees and liberation for the impersonalist. A person, therefore, acting for Krishna or in Krishna consciousness, under proper guidance, and without attachment to the result of the work, is certainly making progress towards the supreme goal of life. Arjuna is told that he should fight in the battle of Kurukshetra for the interest of Krishna, because Krishna wanted him to fight. To be a good man or a non-violent man is a personal attachment, but to act on behalf of the Supreme is to act without attachment for the result. That is perfect action of the highest degree, recommended by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Vedic rituals like prescribed sacrifices are performed for purification of impious activities that were performed in the field of sense gratification, but action in Krishna consciousness is transcendental to the reactions of good or evil work. A Krishna conscious person has no attachment for the result, but acts on behalf of Krishna alone. He engages in all kinds of activities, but is completely non-attached. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapanantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shri Mate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Name Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavare Pashachadi Satarani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gauravaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayati Garim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Paramanandamadavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Nama Shreshtam Manamapi Sachiputra Atra Swarupam Rupam Tashagrajam Uruparim Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramahoradika Madhavasham Pratoyasha Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tannatoshmi. So the main point here, of course, is becoming free from attachment to results. One of the most difficult things, and yet such a basic concept, So early on in the Bhagavad-Gita, and so early on in our devotional journey, we discover that we have to let go the idea of getting the result for what we do. We will get a result for our Krishna conscious activities. Certainly, there is many kind of lesser results in that sense. The ideal and ultimate goal being attaining pure Krishna consciousness and our eternal relationship with the Supreme, But on the way to that, there's little bits where you'll get some, benefits of being a devotee, clearer consciousness, better health, better feeling of mind, body. All these are all distinct things, Your routine will be better because you can get up, because you can be austere if something goes wrong, you can be detached, things like that, So many, these are all just little benefits that come. But ultimately, we should be able to do an activity without attaching ourselves to that result. Because then, the result mentality is just bringing karma. It's not devotional service. If you remember, we said devotional service is unmotivated and uninterrupted. So if it's unmotivated, then it can be uninterrupted. If it's motivated, eventually it will get interrupted. It will get interrupted by us. Our motivation to gain something from it, fame, profit, adoration, distinction, so on and so forth, will cut in the way of us attaining that pure bhakti. Because we're doing it for Krishna. That's the unmotivated mood. What is pleasing to Krishna? There's a Prabhupada used to give an analogy that if he says, I'm asking for some milk, and we try to think ahead and say, maybe he'd be better with water, then, there's some motivation there. I'm going to try and go out of my way to make myself look like the more intelligent. No, the spiritual master, or even the person you're trying to serve, they come to the house to say, I have a certain thing, give me that. Oh yeah, but I think they prefer some fat. No, that's motivated, and of course there's many things you can see like that happens. Some people give presents to gain something back, or they do something to gain something back, and that mentality will only get you so far. Even materially speaking, people don't like that type of person who's just doing something for some, underhanded motive, So here Krishna is saying, act without attachment. And it is very, very difficult because naturally we've been so attached. We're attached to these material bodies. We're attached to our pleasures. We're even attached to our pains sometimes, because we can find shelter in different various weird and wonderful things in the material world. And we've been stuck with them for so long that, we've carried such burdens that we might as well carry them a bit longer. So attachment is quite an amazing thing, and it goes so deep, We're not talking about just a few days, a few months, a few years. We're talking about lifetimes. We've been carrying these attachments. So when we talk about this idea of, coming to having some faith, then, performing devotional activities, some bhajana kriya, sowing that seed of devotional service, and then going through this anartha nivritti, that's these unwanted, dirty things that are clogging up the heart, so to speak, that are bogging down the true, pure soul from coming out, And that's where all these attachments are there. And of course, we can't just simply become averse to them. In one part of the chapter 2 of the Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna says, Vishya vinivartante niha harasha dehana rasho vajam rasho prasya param drishva nivartate. That it's not that we can just say, okay, I'm going to let it go now. You can't become fully renounced just simply by saying it. You can't become fully renounced of an attachment just by harshness, because attachment and aversion, heads or tails, right? Same coin. You flip it over, you got the other part. Attachment, aversion. Flip the coin, So you're still stuck with one or the other, both bringing, again, karmic reaction, material bondage, dissatisfaction, So offer everything under that guidance of the spiritual master. This is what Prabhupada's saying here in the purport. The perfect action of the highest degree is acting without the attachment, under guidance. Otherwise, how else can you do it if you're being guided? Then you're going in the right direction. Then you know that you're doing it because you're surrendering. And that surrender is a powerful thing. Because right away, just by accepting someone else's direction, accepting someone else's higher position, if they do have, of course, that higher position, by accepting that and by acting under their guidance, we've then said, okay, I shouldn't have any. There shouldn't be any. You shouldn't be saying, I promise, but you're crossing your hand behind your back. It should be, I'm accepting what you're telling me. I'm going to follow what you're telling me. And then you get the full benefit. So again, under the guidance of the spiritual master, under the guidance of the scriptures, we're able to remove that attachment to the result. And then when we can be fully open, the lane is clear for us to receive the full benefit, But if we are trying to jump in and catch the benefit at the same time as do the service, we're blocking the actual juice from coming, licking the honey jar instead of being inside the bottle, you know. And there's a couple of verses, of course, there's multiple. As I said, this could go on for days and days, seminars on attachments. If you look on our ISKCON Desire Tree, there's thousands and thousands of seminars on attachment, detachment, renunciation, austerity, simplicity, you know, all these things, these concepts that kind of group around being attached to our body, attached to our mind, attached to happiness, attachment to lust, attachment to foods, pleasures, pains, whatever, you know. These are all different variations of that same point, you know, which ultimately come from lust, of course. We'll hear later on as we go into the 30 key verses about how all these things, attachment and desires and different things, have their root in lust, you know, and not, of course, just gross lust, but, you know, the binding agent, which is lust, you know, which is coming from the mode of ignorance platform, that we're so intensely bewildered to gain something. It doesn't even matter what it is, even if it's harmful, we just have to have it. That's ignorance, you know. That's what lust can take us to. One thing here I spotted is if you Google it, you know, it says it sounds like a very good thing sometimes. Affection, fondness, or sympathy for someone or something. Attachment. Oh, that's very nice. That's of course a sweet attachment, but we know that there is darker versions of attachment, to the point of, you know, where there's psychological, you know, traumas and different things from being attached to people, places, events, you know, and people have to spend a fortune going to psychiatrists, psychologists, counsellors, you know, whatever it is, healers, Reiki healers, tarot readers, you know, they'll go and get past life regressions, different things, to try and work out why they're so freaked out by these attachments, you know. That's the darker side, yeah? Because you imagine what it means if something's attached. It means it's stuck, it's gripped on, it's holding very tightly to you. And we're holding very tightly to it. This is the amazing thing. We're expecting the attachment to go away while still holding on to it, right? That's the thing, you know. We have to let it go, or it's harmful. You know, like anything else that we don't let go for too long becomes harmful. Except for Krishna consciousness, hold on to that tightly. The holy name, make it, you know, your life and soul. That's the thing to be attached to. The scriptures is the thing to be attached to. Krishna is the thing to be attached to, you know. So, there's a couple of verses here that I pulled out. One was taking us back into 2:11, Bhagavad-Gita. The Lord is saying to Arjuna, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashochan Anvasochastvam Pragya Vadamscha Bhashase Gatashun Agatashumscha Nanu Sochanti Pandataha. He says, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. Now this was Krishna basically saying to him, you, again it's going back to that, you presented nice philosophy, your concepts are good, you know, but you're lamenting for something that's not yours. These families, these friends, they're just another set of families and friends. They're just another set of well-wishers, excuse me. So, a wise person knows that the soul, their original connection is to the super soul, the super self, which is the Supreme Person of Godhead, Krishna. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachit Ananda Vigraha, Anadiradir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. You know, that Supreme Person of Godhead is Krishna, Govinda. That's who we're connected to. That's who we're attached to originally, you know. And yes, these people have done so many wonderful things for us, and we've maybe tried to do some things for them, or maybe we've done some terrible things to them, whatever it is, you know. But it's not the thing to dwell on. It's not the thing to be disturbed by. It doesn't mean be harsh. Again, this is the point. Bogatyag, false renunciation. Do not be false, because a devotee is a loving person, a devotee is a kind person, a devotee is a person who has depth. And when there's spiritual depth, you know, and there's real connection to Krishna, then naturally all the other activities that we do also become perfect. They become pulled up, you know. wherever we're lacking in, Krishna, he helps, he shores that up, Wherever we're excelling in, he pushes that even further ahead, right? That's a verse in the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. Ananyas chintayantamam yejana paripashate tesham nityava yuktamam yoga kshemam bahamyaham, right? And we'll hear about that one later as well. That'll come. That's one of the 30 key verses, so we'll also cover that off at some point. And Prabhupada's saying here in the purport to that one I just mentioned, 211, that Arjuna argued that religious principles should be given more importance than politics or sociology, but did not know that knowledge of the matter, soul, and the supreme is even more important than religious formulas. So he was posing himself as very learned, but actually he was showing very clearly his attachment to lower understanding and lesser important types of knowledge. So this is giving us the example. Of course, we know that Arjuna was a pure devotee of the Lord, an eternal associate. So this Bhagavad-Gita is getting spoken directly to us. We can take this as being us that we're seeing here. These different things and many more things are our daily lives, Not speaking for the devotees, of course, naturally we should be trying to rise above. If we have got these problems, and now is a good time to have a look at it, in that sense. Go through the 30 key verses of the Bhagavad-Gita and pick these points out, and then try and pick your own heart apart and see what's going on in there, The other one was on this point of Arjuna, of course, in the historical account of the Bhagavad-Gita itself, that Krishna was on the battlefield with Arjuna as his charioteer. Arjuna naturally has to go win the battle, as it's already been ordained by the Lord that all the Kauravas and all the other armies of kings and, enemies of the Lord ultimately, as they were unwilling to accept the Lord's instruction when he told them to not get involved in such a battle, and to accept the Pandavas as the rightful, Maharaj Yudhishthira as the rightful king. On the historical account, Prabhupada has said, Arjuna is a Kshatriya, that's his duty to fight. So even that point, again, accepting the higher instruction, you're a Kshatriya, do your duty. Don't be attached to all the rest of the stuff, just fight, because I've ordered you to fight, And it goes back here, it says in 231, Swadharmam api chaviksha navikampito marhasi dhamya diyudat shreyonyat kshatriyasya navidite. Consider your specific duty as a Kshatriya. You should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation. So when the spiritual master is given an instruction, when we have understood what our duty is to serve Krishna, to please Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual master, by this process of Sankirtan Yagya, we should go for it without any hesitation. We should jump at it fully. Because that's it. The answer is there. The path is clear. Let's launch it at Krishna consciousness with full 110%. No hesitation, no fear. Because why should there be any doubt? Why should there be any cause for grief and be stuck? And the last one, and this is an interesting point about sense enjoyment and material opulence, mentioning attachment is the first key part. So this is 244, and it would be interesting for those who want to go a little bit deeper into this. As it says, it can go on for hours and hours and hours. Chapter 2 has many verses on attachment and detachment, which will open these points even more. So 244 says, Bhoga Ishwarya Pashaktanam Taya Partha Chetasam Vyavasayatmika Buddhi Samadavna Vadiyate. So the first part is Bhoga is material enjoyment, Aishwarya opulence, and Prashaktanam is for those who are too attached. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. So naturally, the more we are attached to material things, the less time we'll have for spiritual things, the less focus we'll have towards spiritual things, and the less ability we'll have to attract spiritual nature towards us. The more we can obviously see the importance and value of letting go our previous natures, our previous intentions, and even our so-called future intentions and so on, the more we can stay in the moment and focus on our Krishna consciousness, to that degree we can actually attain that supreme platform of Krishna consciousness. So, I don't want to speak anymore because, as I said, please go off, have a look into these concepts and dig it upside down, left, right, back to front, and really try to work out what this, thing called attachment is, and find out what your own attachments are. And it will be an amazing journey. It will be a wonderful experience. There may be some difficult parts in the middle, but naturally you'll come out feeling refreshed. Krishna consciousness is always ever fresh. It's always joyfully performed, Susukam Kartamavyayam. And on the spiritual platform, they say every word is a song and every step is a dance. So that's something nice to think about. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari Hari Bol.